treasurer for the town, Rita Six, town administrator Karen Garrity, deputy town administrator, town clerk Miranda Fisher. And the roll call, Chair Steve Carroll.
Here.
Vice Chair Brent Tregaskis.
Brent told me he might not have cell phone reception where he is tonight. He's out in Wyoming.
Okay, thanks. Treasurer Ron Mitchell. And I just saw him. Treasurer Ron Mitchell.
Ron's
Maybe you're on mute.
There he is.
Are you there, Ron?
Hello?
Yeah, we're just taking roll call. Board members, Andrew Jawar.
Here.
Karina Lusher.
Here.
Rhea Orthner.
Here.
Claudia Schaffler.
Here.
Barb Hart.
Here.
And Board of Trustees Liaison Jonathan Baumhover. Thank you.
Great, thanks everybody. So the first thing we have is the third thing, I mean, public comment. Not sure if anybody is on the call that has any public comment.
This is Rick Hendrickson. I do have a comment.
Hi, Rick. Yes, go ahead. You got 3 minutes.
Okay, shouldn't take that long. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be on for very long, so I just wanted to say this. Excuse me. As you guys know, back in March, as businesses started to shut down, we stopped doing, in-person routine fire safety inspections at the businesses in town, just for safety of everybody, and most of the businesses were closing up anyway. As things are starting to open up, we are going to start resuming that on a small scale. Certainly, a lot of the businesses are hurting. We're not going to go in there with, hitting people with every little violation we can find, but, just looking at the really serious stuff, which I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of. But like I said, as businesses start to open up, we'll get back into some of the businesses and saying hi. The other thing I wanted to let you know is that we have been continuing to do business or commercial construction and remodel inspections, and that really hasn't slowed down at all over the last 6 months. I think actually it's picked up. So I guess that's a good thing overall. But we're just continuing with that as we have been. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thank you, Rick. We appreciate all the services that you guys provide at the fire department. And that's good for us to know that some of the business, to let businesses know that you'll be starting to do the inspections again as time allows. Great. Is there any other public comment? Okay. I think we'll move on to the consent agenda, and we have the warrants from September 9th, today's warrants up to date, and the minutes of the last meeting. Does anybody have any discussion for either of those items? And I wanted to say that when I looked at the warrants, it was a couple days ago, so I'm not sure if they're still like this, but it seemed like there were some things that we were still waiting for clarification on. And Hope, I don't know if you can speak to that, or if they've already been updated since I looked at them.
Yeah, I believe. Let me open it up.
Great, thank you.
Hopefully it'll smoothly go over the screen.
Yeah, I can see.
These are our August warrants, and the top part indicates the amount of debit money that went out. I just had a few questions for Tanner as well as town, and these are our checks and transfers. And it's not moving that readily to, oh, here we go. Excuse me. I have to get used to this. But you should be able to move through the screen. And if you have any questions, just let me know and I'd be happy to help you out. Oh, it switched for some reason. This is our funding in our TIF account and what we've received. And if you're looking at the 722, I guess what happened was when the money, our interest was being moved from our TIF funds into our operating account. And it looked like somebody was just catching up. I believe that was something the past treasurer did, just catching up with getting our interest into our operating account. And if we look down here,
Hope,
yes.
this is Karen, and I see those questions that you've asked. I think it's you. What
Yep.
does this amount for your TIF? Those, all you need to do is go back to your resolutions and you'll see what was approved by the Board of Trustees. So for instance, that one that's over 120,000, that includes the money that was approved to give grants to businesses, for instance. So as all of you, I'm sure know, you have to borrow the money to meet the statutory requirement. So the DDA has been borrowing money from the town to meet that statutory requirement, and then you have to reimburse the town. So all those TIP expenditures are actually the reimbursements that you all have paid back to the town, the money you were loaned by the town. And all you have to do is go back and look at all the resolutions that have been approved, and you can align them with each one of those line items.
Great. Yeah, I have all of those resolution connections and another spreadsheet that I'll show you all in a little bit. And I understand that. I just knew that at one point, Jen had showed me, or I signed a check for like 16,000 and she said, oh, this is going to cover resolution number 1, blah, 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 and blah. So I just wanted to be sure that I was not adding a resolution that was not covering in there. So I just want to be sure. I'm uptight when I guess it comes to money. So I haven't asked the question yet because I've built this spreadsheet and I've gone back to the beginning of 2019 so that we get a nice overview and we can really track our funds. I think Ron would like me to get it back all the way through 2018. So as you see in some of them, I'll add the resolution or the invoice, but I'm mostly doing it on another spreadsheet that I'll talk about. But this is August. The top section right here are the checks and the check numbers and the dates that they went out, and then the sum. So you should be able to see that in every one of the spreadsheets. The funds right here are, it's odd for August. It seems like this would actually be the July interest from a TIF payment, but it also looks to me in the bank statement that is actually the TIF funding that we received for August. So that's very low compared to our normal numbers once you start following these spreadsheets. And this is the interest that we received, $62, which is very, very low when we're looking at our future budget. And if you look at prior spreadsheets, you'll see that number is often usually 600, 500 something. So we're very, very low. And then this 257 is our mill income. I will be separating our mill income out from our TIF income because I just found when I was looking at our other budget sheet, it looks like they're separated out. So I will do that in the next couple of days. But if you have any questions or if you're wondering about the ins and outs of monies, I know that was something that a lot of board members, at least when I began and have been working, they just wanted to have more access to this. So if you think I can put it in a simpler form, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope. My question had been just about the top section, and between you and Karen, I understand that now, and that'll be easy to line up with our resolutions and our projects.
Yeah,
So-
and then this is actually bank account 6662, which is our operating account. And this first tab right here is our TIF account. And because there's not a lot of activity of in and out, I set it up this way.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. Well, thank you. So are there any other questions from the board about the meeting minutes from last meeting or these warrants? Okay. Hope, would you, I've forgotten how we vote on this to approve the warrants, to
Sure.
approve the consent agenda.
Sure. I just wanted to quickly point out that I added in the meeting minutes next to each agenda item topic, I added the place in the audio where you can go in and listen to that specific topic if you did not feel like listening to the whole entire meeting. And thanks to Miranda for recording these meetings for us.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so it'd be a motion to approve. Somebody calls a motion to approve the consent agenda.
This is Baumhova. I motion to approve our consent agenda.
Second that motion.
Okay. Chair Steve Carroll,
Yes.
Treasurer Ron Mitchell. I'll come back. Board members Barbara Hart,
Yes.
Board of Trustee Liaison Jonathan Baumhover. Yeah,
Yes.
thanks. Rhea Orthner,
Yes.
Claudia Schaffler,
Yes.
Karina Lusher,
Yes.
and Andrew DeWart.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Treasurer Ron Mitchell. Oh, I think I might have called him already. No, he didn't answer. Thanks, Ron. Okay, unanimously approved. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Now, we have several discussion items tonight. The first one is the budget discussion. That Hope, I think you're going to discuss this with us.
Sure. Really quickly, one of the things that Chair Steve Carroll requested is that we have a special meeting between now and September 15th. I sent around an email, but unfortunately, I only received a response from one person. So I was hoping that we could take a minute before I go into the 2020 expenditures for us to decide when a special meeting can take place. That's me swatting the ball into all of your courts. Would next Wednesday be fine?
That's a great way.
Next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Everyone's good with that?
Hope, this is Rhea. Why do we need to hold a special meeting?
This is to get together and discuss what our priorities should be for the coming year, which projects we, narrow it down to, like we did this past January, narrow it down to a really workable number of projects that we could accomplish in the year. And then that will help inform our budget discussions.
And one thing I want to say is Karen Garrity, and in our staff report, I do have the schedule for the 2021 budget. And really what is ideal is if the DDA budget could be presented when we present the budget, 2021 projected budget, to the Board of Trustees on October 6th, because they need to approve it before we post it, which is October 15th. And we have 2 weeks that we let the public comment. So ideally, if you guys can get your budget done and get it to us to post in the October 6th BOT packet, which would be like 4 or 5 days before that, that would be the best. So thanks.
Okay, and I think with our, if we call it a retreat or priority setting session, we can also discuss the budget items that, some rough numbers of budgets that would go along with each of the items. So at least we have something somewhat reasonable to give to the BOT to present with the town budget on October 6th.
So Karen, just for clarification, since it's September 9th and we can't make official votes at the special meetings from what I understand. So we would have to then, Oh, go
You
ahead.
can if you just call it a regular meeting. Just don't call it a special meeting. Just call it a regular meeting. As long as you post it, and as long as you have it listed as an action item, you can go ahead and vote. I just would stay away from the word special meeting and just call it a regular meeting. You know, because
Thank you.
you can hold regular meetings outside your normal meeting dates.
Great, thanks.
Sure.
So is that next Wednesday, the 16th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Good for everybody?
I'm out of town next week.
So why don't you, does anybody have some dates they'd like to throw out then or suggest a date?
I'm pretty available.
Yeah, I'm
Steve.
pretty available. With switch screens.
Rhea, when will you be available?
I mean, I'm here on Monday, but then starting Tuesday, I'm out of town for a week. So then I could meet, if Monday won't work, then the 22nd. Oh, wait, that's a planning commission meeting for me. Well, in the evening, it depends. If we do it during the day, I can do it on the 22nd, which is a Tuesday.
How about the 21st? Are you still out of town
I'm
then?
still out of town on the 21st.
And then what about the 23rd?
I'm open.
Okay. Just because I know that some people work during the day. Is during the day difficult for anyone?
During the day,
Third is the planning commission.
but I can be flexible. Sorry.
So the 23rd is the planning commission for Nederland. So if you want, you guys would need to host this meeting on your own or would need to do it before 7 o'clock.
Oh, okay. I thought Rhea just mentioned that she thought planning commission was on the 20th.
No, I'm sorry. It's the Gilpin Planning Commission. It's a different thing.
Oh, okay. I understand. So what do you think, you guys? Do you want to host this on our own because of the planning commission? But then I guess we really kind of can't.
Yeah, if we're able to. I don't see why we couldn't.
Andrew, is there any way you could meet during the business day, or is it really just really tough for you?
Andrew said it was difficult for him. Karina said that she could possibly make some time. I haven't heard from Claudia or Barb.
So if we're talking the 22nd, 23rd, I can do it during the day.
I can't do it during the day on Friday.
Is Wednesday the 23rd?
That's fine with me.
Okay, how, Barb?
Wednesday the 23rd would work. I can't do Monday, Tuesday ever.
Okay, and then Jonathan, would it be possible for you to do maybe a late afternoon meeting?
Most likely not, to be honest. If it's like 4 o'clock maybe, but not usually pretty busy till around 5:30.
Yeah, that Wednesday, the 23rd, would be difficult for me. I'll be down in Boulder toward the middle of the day for several hours.
How long do we think this meeting's going to take?
I think
guess,
yeah.
Yeah, maybe about budget about 2 hours for it.
How about 4 to 6 on Wednesday? Is that still too early for you, Steve?
Yeah, it would be a little bit hard. I'm not going to be done down in Boulder until probably close to 3:45 maybe. So yeah, I think that day is tough. All the other days that we mentioned are okay with me.
Except Tuesday doesn't work for Barb.
Okay, Monday, Tuesday doesn't work for her. Is that right?
I guess if
What about
Monday,
morning?
Tuesday.
What about like an early, what about morning?
That's a great idea.
I could do morning on that Wednesday because I don't have to be down in Boulder immediately, like 9 to 11 or something.
But Jonathan's probably working in the morning.
I'll be working. Hopefully if I'm in cell reception, I can just mute myself and jump in when I need to.
Is that Wednesday, the 23rd at 9 a.m. okay with other people?
Yeah, I can make it work.
Yeah, I can make it work. It's a roast day for me at the shop, so it just might be one of those things where I have to jump in and out. Hopefully I can just focus, but sometimes my attention is needed over there. So I'm happy to make that work, but I might need to jump in and out.
And then Maria said yes.
Yes, that's fine. I'll make it
And,
work.
and Barb, is that good for you?
I'll be the same as Karina. I can jump in and out, but I take the paper to press on Wednesday morning. So until I'm at press, I cannot focus on mostly anything else.
Okay, and Claudia?
I'm good on Wednesday morning.
And then Juan?
Yes, I'm good. Wednesday.
Okay. Great. Well, in the event somebody has any other ideas, I will send out an email confirming 9 to 11 on September 23rd. And hopefully between now and then, board members can get together with sunshine laws in their mind and kind of start thinking together about some of the projects. So I wanted to give you some tools to work with so that you have a better sense of, well, where are our projects now as of September. And so I created a spreadsheet that for some reason the warrants from that other one are still present. Oh, here they go. So this is the overall spreadsheet. It was a spreadsheet that Mandy had created last year. It took a look back at our prior budgets, and then it gives our proposed budgets for different projects. There are pieces of it I don't understand at this point, like specific ownership. There was funding there, so I put question marks. Loan proceeds, I realized, were the resolutions that we created. So, for example, right now we have $203,000 and some odd money in resolutions that we've requested. This is our BOCO grant. Technically, it's not our income. It's really the income for the Boulder County region. So I guess we could talk about that at some point about where that could fall as opposed to being within income. I don't know. As you can see, we didn't budget for legal fees last year, but we did incur some legal fees. So they were taken here. Office rent, it shows that we have a balance in the green. The accounting we have not paid for yet, but we have taken on a new accountant and we've asked him some difficult questions. So we might get charged a little bit more than $25. I'm still looking into the invoices for the election and office supplies, shipping and posting. Boulder County tax collection, I'm not sure about this, but hopefully I'll find out soon. We had one bank fee that occurred, but we still have $15 left over. And so as you see, this is kind of a rundown of where we are. If you shoot over to this section, it's a little bit more informative to some of the questions that you have. For example, in beautification, we requested $23,000. In our resolution, we paid the town a fee of $50 for processing. So I put both those columns in because I think one shows the resolution value, where the other one shows a value that we might be paying just a little bit more on that. So that's with fees included. And then this section talks about where we are now, and that's of September 9th. So for example, in beautification, we really only have 1 month left and we have $10,000 still in the budget. And you might say, like, why Hope? Well, then you'd go down to this tab if you're interested, or if this is your committee, slide over, and when you click on beautification, it'll show you on the top here was the budget that I created for why are we requesting $23,000? As you can see, Mike up to this date has not worked all the hours, so that's why we have a balance here. These are the administrative fees, which are actually coming in pretty close, and that was taking a small percent. We have $355.75 left over. We came in a little under on our flower order. And this is where, Claudia, I believe we can use the lights for the bridge. So we do have some funding there, just for your knowledge. But fortunately, if I was unavailable, you'd be able to go in and take a look at this yourself and not feel in the dark. We did not order fall bulb planting this year or the fall mum planting at this time. We can. We also did not do anything with the roundabout because we were not allowed to because of all the great work that CDOT was doing to fix the roundabout. On the bottom, on every spreadsheet, you will see the administrative hours and how much money was billed out administratively. If you're interested in Hope's working too much or too little on a project, you can go to personnel spreadsheet, click on that, and you can see exactly where and how the hours were broken down. And for example, in Big Springs parking, I said, hey, you know, we've asked for a certain amount of money, but we haven't taken into account the $575 for administrative fees. So I think hopefully you all have a better idea on whatever committee you're on of what the numbers are coming in and out. And I'm very excited to help you along with that. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Oh, I would highly suggest too taking a document and putting it maybe on your desktop and just putting these links in your desktop document, because this is a live document. So every change that I make on it, you're able to follow along. And so if you don't see, maybe you knew a check was written and you don't see it anywhere, you can just reach out and say, hey, it's been 2 weeks and you haven't entered that information. So I can get onto it. So thank you. I think that's it, unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Hope. That was good.
Article, and Barbara Hart will present this one.
Okay, so bear with me because my sound is not always great. Sometimes it's hard for you to hear me and for me to hear you.
Okay.
Basically, the idea is to have an article written by the DDA. When I joined the DDA, it was with the idea that I wanted to help the DDA communicate better with the town and the people around us what was happening and what we were working on. And this goes back to that idea to share the information from the DDA with everybody that reads the paper, as well as the website. The website gets read even more than the paper. So I'm going to be approaching all the different town boards, asking them the same thing. I'm starting with the DDA because it was my goal when I joined to communicate better with everybody around town and hopefully get more interest in the DDA from the other businesses. You can see on the AIM all of the information that was shared. I guess one thing that will be a question is the budget. I think that it will take 1 to 2 hours per month to turn in this article. I would like to ask that Hope or Steve be in charge of turning it in, at least for the first few months, just to kind of get in the groove of things. And because it is a budget item and my connection to the Mountaineer, I will not vote on this. So, questions?
I just created a budget spreadsheet in the event you wanted myself to do it. I think the hope was everybody would participate in writing the article, but just to give you a sense of what that would cost the DDA if someone like myself wrote it, it'd be $528 for the year.
Great, thanks, Hope. Yeah, and I really like this idea. This is Steve. I really like the idea because I think it is good for people to know what the DDA is working on and what our goals are, and anything we've accomplished. And I think a monthly article is a nice way to do that, to keep general public kind of up to date with what's happening. And I'd be happy to alternate with Hope in the beginning, just to get a bit of get in the groove with it. And then we could see after that. I'd be curious if anybody else has an interest in writing any of these articles going forward. That's just my input.
I agree. I think it's a good idea and would be happy to contribute.
Great.
Yeah, this is Karina. I really like this idea a lot. I think it's a great way to get the word out in terms of what we're doing in the DDA, and hopefully, Barbara, you can get the other boards to join in. I would just hope that, wow, there's some really bad feedback, and I don't know if that's my computer or not. But my only thing is having been in the magazine industry in my past, I just would hope that there'd be a format for the voice that's used in the articles that are written, and that the articles are well written. That's my only suggestion, but I think it's great, and I would volunteer myself, but I know that for me, when I write, I focus on it, and I solely focus on it, so I don't know that I'm yet ready to commit time to it. So if you guys could start with it and then maybe see how it goes, I'd potentially be interested, but I'm not willing to commit yet.
Okay. Thanks.
This is Rhea. I love this idea. I like Karina's comments too about having it be well written and kind of a common voice. And I think that maybe one thing we could do is try to allocate budget for Hope to tackle this, to write the articles in conjunction with each subcommittee member. Because I know I'd like to say yes, so yes, I'm going to write such a great article. When it comes down to it, and I have other deadlines and family obligations that may not get done. So I really kind of feel strongly that by having this be that we're paying Hope to do, I think there's a better chance it will actually happen consistently. It doesn't mean that we can't all help in writing the article, but I think it's a good idea to have one person come be in charge of it.
It could be a format with short, a few sentences after each bullet point.
Hi, this is Claudia. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I suggest that Hope do it. I think we all should contribute as best we can on our projects. And we should definitely start out with a format that makes it easier for her to just know what she's supposed to be putting in, and that should help streamline it a little bit. So that's my input.
Sure. And this is Steve too, and I'd be totally happy to not do it, but I am willing to alternate or help out with it. Well, I guess if there's any other discussion, we could hear it. And if not, perhaps we could just move forward with a nod of 4 that we'd like to put this in place.
Yes, please.
Well, good. Yeah,
I would.
Yeah.
Can I make a motion? I think that might be.
Sure.
I make a motion that we task Hope with writing an article for the Mountaineer once a month, with the expectation being that she would submit to us a format that we would then approve. We should be able to do that pretty quick. And also with the expectation committee members would have some input when it was appropriate.
Second that motion.
Don't we have to move this to an action item first?
Well, I think we can just still do a nod of 4 to move it forward.
You can definitely do a nod of 4 since that you aren't really established, you're not talking, well, you're talking about spending money.
Well, we would need to stick it in our budget anyway, right now.
So maybe that's what you're doing, is a nod of 4, give direction to staff to put it in the budget, which you'll approve at your upcoming meeting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So then do we need a different motion?
No, we just need 4 people to give a nod that this is something that we're going to, the $528 is something that we'll put into our budget because right now it's not in our budget. I mean, I guess we could take it from other places. I'm just getting I guess a really good handle on the budget, but I'm not at the point of saying we could take it from this or that.
Let's put it as a line item in the future budget, yes.
Okay.
Not a 4. So.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I'm nodding.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Barb. That was a good idea, I think.
Thank you.
Let's see. Next up, we have the GoCo grant presentation. And Jessica, are you going to be presenting this?
Here I am. Yes. Hi. Hi, Steve.
Hi.
Great. Yeah, I'll be presenting. Miranda is going to be my slider. Awesome.
Are you ready, Jesse? I'm ready when you are.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, well, thank you to Hope and to Steve and all the DDA for getting this PROSAP item on your agenda tonight so quickly. Very excited to share what is in the work for Netherlands Public Park Space. I'll try and move fairly quickly through this presentation because you've already had a chance to take a look through the draft documents and via the link in your agenda in the town site. And a lot of this plan will already be familiar to you because these are just the listed priority improvements from the 2013 Parks Master Plan. So, so far we have been conducting some outreach with a variety of local nonprofits, businesses and stakeholders. Some of these have included the Netherlands Library, Ned Health and Human Services. We have had New Explorers, Teens Inc., Ned Seniors, Wild Bear Nature Centre, Alps Coaching, Tadasana Yoga, event organisers. And we do have some more people that we are touching base with still for over the next week. And you'll see throughout this kind of little presentation a defined emphasis on multi-use shared community space and equitable access. So as I'm going along, just please note down your thoughts or questions that might arise. And then there'll be time for a Q&A after we've looked through the budget and timeline there. Great, let's start slide. So this is the 2010 GoCo strategic plan. It's a little bit different from previous years. This is very much in response to the unprecedented disruption caused by the COVID pandemic. So GoCo is launched a one-time resilient communities program, and this is for outdoor recreation, stewardship and land protection projects. And it's really supposed to best reflect community needs at this current moment in time. So through this program, GoCo will fund one-time immediate needs or opportunities that have emerged in direct response to the pandemic. And this is all within the context of their 5 program values, which is resource conservation, outdoor stewardship, community vitality, equitable access, youth connections. And the proposed projects really should address one or more of the following from these themes, and that is capacity, operations support, capacity and operations with a direct connection to the project, stewardship and maintenance of outdoor recreation and natural resource infrastructure, community vitality, emergent needs that contribute to the vitality and resiliency within Nederland, and urgent and emergent land acquisitions. Slide. So what we're going to start out about is talking about the community need. So during regular years, Netherlands sees high levels of recreational traffic, but because of the effects of the pandemic this year, our parks have seen an unprecedented record number of visitors. The western shoreline of Barker Reservoir sees a high volume of foot traffic along its only perimeter trail and near the mouth of Middle Boulder Creek, where it meets Barker. So this is meaning that a lot of our visitors are ending up in a bottleneck right there, and they're struggling to maintain the recommended social distances. So we've got narrow trails and a lack of overall trails in that area, which is meaning that our visitors are getting funneled along this one path when really they could be spread out much more effectively given the space available down there. So that is why enhanced circulation is a real prominent feature of this particular project here. So in recent months, we've seen our public spaces and gateways and greenways become critical havens. This project will transform this unusable outdoor public space in Nederland into a vital recreational and natural area, Barker Meadows Park. So within Barker Meadows, the town's historic Gratio Memorial Ball Field will be rehabilitated, and across the creek, we'll have much needed restroom improvements at Chipeta Park, which will allow the reopening of those facilities. Slide. And we have to talk a little bit about our Netherlands burdens in relation to this. So we're talking about how Netherlands budgets have been necessarily slashed across the board. We're in contingency budgets, and the town is now having to balance the resulting budget, and it's finding ways to share and cut administrative costs and functions. And so these financial challenges just mean that at this time, Town of Nederland has extremely limited resources to expend on any non-essential personnel and programs. And we are saying that what Nederland lacks in monetary resources is made up many times over in community involvement, which is very true for us. And we have tried to come together as a community this summer during lockdown, and as restrictions have eased, we've had residents extending help to one another, trying to support local establishments. But with unemployment ballooning and the threat of worse financial pain for many still to come, neighbourly goodwill is only going to get us so far in the long run. So our goal is to engage with locally active non-profit organisations, and the town is that way able to effectively leverage some local resources and strengths. So we believe this project will relieve pressure on our parks, holding capacity, and it will allow visitors also to safely spread out to enjoy this shoreline area. We've actually looked at some studies that have indicated that access to healthy activities can lead to higher levels of gross domestic product and economic well-being, which I'm sure the DDA is something that they will be interested in hearing. Slide. So the value of parks. As part of just focusing on this overall health of Nederland community, we have been asking the question, what can we do to ensure all of our public spaces, natural and built, are safe and welcoming for all? So in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen parks and outdoor spaces become even more special. They give families and small groups of friends a way to be together safely, relieve stress, recharge, provide healthy outdoor activities. So this park improvement project, it will improve mental and physical health for our community members. And this will make our community safer as a result of this wholesome atmosphere. There'll be healthy activities and healthy programming for all demographics of people. Studies have also shown that living close to park space is consistently related to higher physical activity levels for adults and youth. And then I just have a little quote from Tadasana Mountain Yoga. The town has generously allowed us to use the public park to hold our classes outdoors. We are so grateful to have this resource available to us to use the restrooms as they need to be retrofitted to meet new health and safety standards. This grant would allow town to do the necessary work. It will be great to have more space available and be able to accommodate more use in our public spaces. Slide. And we are focusing quite a lot on equitable public spaces. So we talk a little bit about how Nederland is surrounded by forests and wilderness and montane trails, and yet there is very little opportunity for residents to recreate within town limits. And we found that this disproportionately affects marginalised residents. It affects those who lack their own personal transport, the elderly, and young families. So Nederland is absorbing the challenges that this pandemic has caused, and we are always finding creative ways to function. So school and daycare closures raise the need and the usage of our parks and our outdoor spaces. And that has greatly increased pressures on Nederland's infrastructure. So our young people and our elderly folk have seen their routines upended. They've been particularly affected by the loss of regular services. Access to the outdoors and a few recreational resources will greatly enhance the community's ability as a whole to withstand and recover from these pandemic-related stresses. So we keep bringing this back to kind of pandemic-related causes. Improvements to our limited in-town park areas will help foster a culture of resilience by providing peaceful outdoor space, recreational opportunities, and will be welcoming and inclusive to everyone, including our most vulnerable residents. The creation of ADA accessible trails 36 inches wide will provide equal access for wheelchairs, walkers, and stroller users. This area is also heavily used by dog walkers and joggers. So widening the trails, it will help accommodate the increased number of users that our parks are seeing around the shoreline. And there will also be doggy waste stations strategically placed to help dog owners dispose of their dog waste correctly, recycling receptacles in the area. Slide. So this is the kind of updated map that we have so far for this site plan project. You can see this through the link. If you want to click again, you can compare this to the 2013 Parks Master Plan. You can see that it's very close. It's the same, using the same site specifics. We are just going to focus on the trails and the hardscaping and the landscaping for this plan. If you click again, Miranda, you can compare this to the 2018 plan. So we backtracked a little bit from the some of the structures on there. It's kind of definitely focusing on just the priority improvements for this map. And please do take a look through our link at that in further detail, a little closer up. So it's a big focus is just about preserving this open space and preserving it for everyone. So we have focused a little on the Jeff Gershio Memorial Ball Field. So as you know, it is an unfit condition for youth to use for team sports. We are in discussions. We've been working closely with Teens Inc. You know all about Teens Inc., so I won't kind of go into detail about that, but they're the organization that provides, vital youth services to marginalized youth in and around Nederland area. So these underserved teens, they would like to be able to practice their skills out there on the field, but the uneven ground and the small rocks have made playing there hazardous. So Berkenmeadow Park, the area will become a place for Nederland youth programs that they can use to run and practice soccer skills, play baseball, spend time outdoors. And back in 2013, the master plan identified this zone, even then, as in need of rejuvenation. So we just talk about how flat, undeveloped open space public land in Nederland is extremely scarce. And the goal is to maintain the multi-use benefits of this area. Have a space that is available for team sports like soccer and baseball, but also for activities like dog walking, picnicking, frisbee, kite flying, and events and festivals. We do have a plan to irrigate Gershio to ensure that the hardiness of the grass will be hardy enough to withstand short-term events and festivals. So that is something that we've been closely working with Public Works, which we'll get to in a minute. But no, basically this funding accelerates this parks improvement project that has been in the works for a long time and local vision for Nederland. Already the priorities are already laid out there within the 2013 Parks, Recreation, Open Space Master Plan. There's a little quote there from Ariel Gustafsson at Teens Inc. about ensuring the capacity for teamworks to run is even more urgent than ever before amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Teens is located in the heart of the project area. Increased usage of the lands has affected our ability to safely use the outdoor area near our building for our classes or programs, or for our alternative high school or out of school programs. We also run a preschool, which will greatly benefit from the work being done at Chipeta Park. So the focus on this area is on native perimeter trees and shrubs, and just creating recreational opportunities that either involve no entry cost or a very low entry cost. So, for example, the cost of a ball. Slide. So talking a little bit more about Gershio Field, this is the view from East Street. This area is a rare, flat, open space which preserves a treasured view of the reservoir from town and East Street. The funding accelerates a much-needed parks improvement project, and local vision for Nederland includes priority components of that vision first laid out within the Town of Nederland's 2013 Parks Master Plan. The Barker Meadows Park project will improve the visuals by shielding some of those buildings down there at the shorefront from view, and that will create a more pleasant and natural atmosphere. Talking a little bit about irrigation here. So the PROSAP has discussed the irrigation needs of Gershio during multiple meetings over the past year. So we've researched the pros and cons of many different alternatives, from temporary sprinklers to perimeter above ground watering to agricultural large scale irrigation to no water at all. And we have been in close contact with Public Works about how to create a realistically achievable project plan and timeline for this, because long-term maintenance is going to be a really important factor for considering the aspects of this park going forward. So we do think this project provides an appropriate balance between active recreation and passive kind of use. So without irrigation, it is unfortunately unlikely that the turf would be hardy enough to host the annual large events, just because the grass will lack the resilience to bounce back after those. And recently talking to our lead parks head, she said that even the farmers market should be able to return to this field with this type of irrigation. So even an every 2 weeks event will be fine. It will be carefully laid irrigation with a clearly delineated map. It'll allow for both sports-worthy field and the capability to host events. The Barker Meadow behind that is being restored into a usable event and gathering space. So very natural space with no irrigation. Also going to be totally open for events and festivals. And we do think this option is going to be the best balance between events and active recreation and resource conservation. So for Barker Meadows to function as a robust civic commons, we do think it must belong to all of the community and not just one specific interest group. Slide. A little bit about Teens Inc. here. So we're going to be employing and taking a collaborative approach with Teens Inc., Teamworks, which is their local youth corps crew. So Teamworks offers the opportunity for underrepresented Colorado youth to engage in their public lands. And they become part of a learning-based program. They earn money and scholarships. Teamworks employs all of its youth from Colorado, half from Denver metro area, the other half from Nederland and underserved rural peak-to-peak areas. So the youth are typically aged 15 to 19. More than half the participants are non-white. The majority of youth return for 3 to 5 summers. So Teamworks provides local youth with a long-term connection for environmental stewardship. Studies have shown that when adolescents feel engaged in the creation of their own community spaces, they do feel increased responsibility and stewardship towards it. Teamworks also bridges the gap between sustainable summer salary and quality educational program. So this team will be employed as a crew. I think they've got 12 members. They have two team crew leaders. They will be employed for 15 hours. And they will build trails and assist in the construction of a natural play structure. So this is a really valuable educational work experience, and it's an opportunity for these youth to develop the skills and the practices that they will use later in life. They will learn tools and team leadership skills and many others. So the PROSAP is really interested in fostering quite authentic relationships like this to actively encourage stewardship and particularly among younger population here. So adolescents with easy access to recreation, they're more physically active and they're less likely to engage in unhealthy or harmful activities. Slide. A little bit about stewardship here. We have been co-hosting a series of noxious weed pulls with the help of your very own Rhea and Stephanie. And we've also been encouraging some participation from other local nonprofits, particularly those that offer outdoor education. So at this time of necessary social distancing and virtual learning, we've had lots of local educators that are now seeking alternative ways to teach their students. So this is a way to connect kids and families to the outdoors by making it easier to spend longer periods of time outside. This is just going to be a park area featuring benches, shade, and some interpretive signage, and a landscape free of debris and broken glass. And this is going to enable children to safely explore the community's shoreline environment throughout the year. So by engaging with locally active nonprofit organizations, the town is able to effectively leverage some local resources and strengths. This Resilient Communities program will relieve pressure on our parks' holding capacity and allow visitors to safely spread out and enjoy the shoreline area. Slide. So there are 2 outdoor-focused child education opportunities in Nederland. We've got the Wild Bear Nature Centre, local nature and educational nonprofit, and we have New Explorers Playgroup. Both organizations take children out on local expeditions around the Nederland area. They do hands-on learning about local ecology, geology, flora, fauna. The Barker Meadows Park project, it will provide new classroom areas outdoors for these organizations, and so it will help create connections between children and the natural world. So Barker Meadow was reclaimed from a former sludge pond. I should say to the DDA, Barker Meadow is what the process agreed on calling the performance area. It became very wordy to say performance area, event gathering space all the time. So we decided we're going to call that little focused area Barker Meadow, the other area Gershio Field, and the entire area Barker Meadows Park. So Barker Meadow was reclaimed from the former sludge pond. And the goal is to just preserve, restore and rehabilitate that area for multi-use. To aid in Netherlands' climate resilience. Perimeter trees will build new birding habitats, create native pollinator plants for bees, and really enhance children's education services. We have a little quote here from one of our letters of support, also from a parent of New Explorers student. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit, getting outside and into nature has become more critical for our kids than ever. With schools closing or limiting attendance, many parents are now homeschooling their children. School staff are working as hard as they can to keep enrolled students outside as much as possible to prevent viral spread and limit exposure. We have never needed well thought out educational outdoor spaces more than we do right now. And there's a little photo of them, slide. Thank you. So this is a little photo of the Barker Meadow Park area, and we will get to kind of what this is a concept of. So it's the former sludge pond, it's a potential event space, a potential amphitheatre, gathering space, natural area in the future years to come. Nothing in this plan will prohibit or prevent any of those future things, an amphitheatre or gathering space. What it does do is make this area usable for the moment. So it really just focuses on rehabilitation of this area. And this will be a huge morale boost to Nederland community. But the value of this space goes beyond the grass and the trees. We aim to create a healthier, more equitable place to live, to help build connections both between the towns and the communities they serve. So this project is carefully channeled towards creating low maintenance features. That is a big feature of this. And this means choosing hardy, drought tolerant grasses, native shrubs and trees, sustainable materials. And it also affects the choice of our seating and shelters. We haven't got any shelters in this one, but we have anti-vandalism benches, anti-vandal picnic benches, simple stone benches, and these things will mean less work for our understaffed parks department. So Teens Inc. Teamworks are very keen on collaborating with the town on creating trails and also a natural playscape. And so the teams would be employed as part of the Youth Corps service to learn about sustainable construction and tool skills engineering. This picture is just a super quick mock-up of one of the current earthwork artists under consideration. This one is done by Jason Fan. He creates play structures that he calls spirit nests. Slide. So this is kind of another image of one of his natural playscapes that we're in the talks about with him. This artist called Jason, he teaches adolescents woodworking, building techniques and leadership skills. So he's willing to lead the Netherlands Youth Corps Teamworks if GoCo funding is awarded. He'd be willing to lead the Teamworks classes in building a small playscape similar to the one at right here. These play structures, they use natural materials, they require little to no maintenance, they stand up in heavy winds and at high altitudes. And from Jason's long history installing these across the country, he hasn't heard accounts of them being abused, which was kind of my first question to him. And in his experience, these playscape features have just become treasured and very protected by the community. So this is one thing that we're looking at. We have a little quote from the Netherlands Community Library Director, Electra Greer. The opportunities afforded by this incredible grant, such as development of the western shoreline of Barker Reservoir, would provide invaluable space for expanding library services and building a strong, engaged community. A public recreational space at the shoreline of the reservoir would provide limitless opportunities for library programming and outreach well beyond this COVID time. Slide. We're getting there. So this is another big part of this GoCo Resilient Communities grant. It would be Chipeta Park restroom upgrades. So a large part of this funding is going to go towards urgent upgrades to Chipeta Park restroom, touchless amenities, touchless faucets, hand dryers, pedals for opening the doors, airflow upgrades, just to get this facility to be allowed to safely reopen. The safe reopening of public park restrooms, as I'm sure you'll know, is crucial in providing our community and parks visitors with toilets, facilities, hand washing, and drinking water. Slide. Okay, I believe this is the last slide. So I just wanted to say, according to a 3-year Soul of the Community study, perception of a community's performance in social offerings, openness and beauty, which includes the availability of parks and green spaces, that has a greater impact on emotional bonds to people than their demographic characteristics. So we really are following through 2020 envisioning statements here. Netherlands recreational development here addresses issues such as the promotion of non-motorized travel, clean air, clean water, minimal, reduced light and noise pollution, focused community education programs and stewardship to reduce environmental impact. This project will help Netherlands preserve and protect its natural resources while also responsibly managing active recreation and limiting the negative impact from overuse in these certain zones. Barker Meadows Park is really a truly shared community space. And we do think the current moment is the right time to preserve its natural beauty while providing outdoor opportunities. So I think that is the last slide. So this is a local vision that has been long planned, as you know. Its urgency has been ratcheted up exponentially due to the pandemic. So without dedicated funding, this project, it could take decades for the town to realise and piecemeal this together. So yeah, we do think achieving a robust civic commons is, it will require dedicated attention, and yes, it will require funding. But we, Netherlands, we've been working on this vision collectively, as I'm sure many of you have been involved in it for over a decade. And ProSAP does think it's time for us to unite over our shared passion for protecting our local environment. And we think this public space has been neglected for too long now, and it's often been seen as something that would be nice to have, but not necessarily something that is essential. But we do think that this year is the time that we realise that equitable access to outdoors is indeed essential. So I think we'll have Miranda maybe touch base a little bit on the budget and the timeline here, and then I'll open up for some Q&A and some feedback and input.
Yeah, so my apologies. For the sake of time, I wasn't necessarily going to go through everything in full detail, but let me pull it up really quick. So on our website, we have our timeline. So the goal is to get feedback from all the boards and commissions in the community in September. We do plan to introduce this grant to the Board of Trustees on the 15th, so next week, with the goal of being able to come back again to do another, to do the final presentation the first week in October. The grant is due on the 16th of October, so hope is that upon submission, we would be able to be awarded the next month, so in November. Sorry, I'm trying to get this open. And then the work would start. So we'd really work on planning and designing for most of the end of this year and early next year, securing volunteers as well, with the bulk of the work being done March through October. We did get some feedback at our recent public meeting that maybe moving the tea plants down. So we're doing that more in October and November. But the goal would be to have this whole project completed by the end of 2021. So that timeline is on our website. Now, in terms of the budget, we're asking for a little over $30,000. So this is still in draft mode. But on here, you'll see 300,000. So on here, we've got the Barker Meadows Park amenities, which is everything from tables, the doggy way stations, like Jesse talked about, signs, a bike rack, fencing, and receptacles. There is a whole component for Chipeta Park, making that touchless surfaces. We are still missing some pieces here in terms of the amount, but there would be irrigation, the cost to connect stormwater. We identified some staffing. One thing that is missing here is we have put into the grant a part-time public works employee who would be dedicated to the parks, which is going to help that department immensely. With then discussing with the board for the 2022 budget, funding that position. We have the materials that we would need for all the pieces of this project, as well as the professional services who can help with really that conceptual design. There is no match or financial match that's required. It can all be in kind. So that's primarily what we are bringing forward, but we do have some funds coming from Dillon Developers and Eldora that can be used for this grant. And so, as you can see, this is again in draft mode, but we are looking at about $300,000 for this grant. Questions for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, this is Steve, the chair. I just wanted to say thanks so much for that presentation and all the work that you've put into it. It was a really nice, I read it all beforehand. It was really interesting. And the only, I guess, comment that I really wanted to make was, as far as wayfinding, you and I had talked a couple months ago about that, because the DDA is going to be pursuing some wayfinding for town. And I'd just love to incorporate this, the whole park and other types of trails and trail systems that you'd like to work into our wayfinding plan. Claudia and I are on that committee, and we're going to be working on it before the next meeting to try to make a recommendation to the board which company to go with. So I just wanted to say that we'd love to get a lot of your input on wayfinding in terms of the GOCO grant and just the project that you're doing with the park. But otherwise, I just love all the ideas you put out there. It seems like it's going to be a really great use of that money if we get the grant.
And Steve, SAB is also really interested in wayfinding. So I think one thing we'd maybe like to do is do a collaborative meeting with all three boards. Just
Sure.
so they have their own interest, and this is a great way that we can commonly come together and work on that.
Yeah, that sounds great. We'd love to, because our plan with the wayfinding is to be very holistic and overarching. So we'd love to get input from everybody on that.
That would be great, Steve. We didn't really put much wayfinding into this particular project because we knew you guys were working on it, and we just have very limited signage. It's just going to be kind of more interpretive signage, a little bit about maybe the importance of wetlands,
Sure.
the importance of different ecological, and then a little bit of maybe historical interpretive signage, the history of how Barker Meadows got its name and things like that.
Okay, great. Well, perfect. No, I just wanted to put that out there that I'd love to be working with you on the wayfinding.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to.
How many need that you're
No, I don't have that information yet, and I'm not sure Chris does. I know that's a part of the information we're still collecting.
okay? It from town, you could look at water rights and who could sell stuff and potential angle. As far as the irrigation goes, the oil fields who they're selling. And then
yeah, I know the last budget meeting, Chris Pelletier was talking about using treated water from the wastewater treatment plant, which at first we thought we were not going to be able to use grey water at all. So we're definitely trying to look towards a few more low cost and sustainable factors for the irrigation.
Right.
That would be.
So, okay, those are okay. Who for people and those are much.
Hi, Jess, it's Karina, and I just wanted to thank you. I don't know if you guys can hear me because I'm definitely having issues with everyone else's sound, but oh my gosh, like what an incredible presentation. And honestly, like I'm just giddy because I've been waiting for this for 10 years. So it's so great to see, and it's so well thought out, and I'm just really excited about it. And those play structures are the coolest thing I've ever seen. So sign me up if you guys need volunteers, because this is just really incredible to see this finally come to a solid plan. And I really hope we get the grant, because everything in that presentation is spot on, and we need it. So thank you so much.
We do need it.
Mm-hmm.
This is Ray. Can I go next?
Yes.
Jesse, thank you so much for all your hard work over the years on this. I know it's been many, many hours on your part. I haven't reviewed the plan in detail, and I do love it, and the presentation's awesome. I just wanted to ask a couple specific questions. The first thing I wanted to know is, you know where you park your car, the main Barker Reservoir parking lot? And if you take that trail along the reservoir to the east, it goes a little way on town-owned land, and then I think it goes into another jurisdiction. It might be the city. That trail, shortly after you leave the parking lot, has a huge erosional gully, and it's super dangerous. And I remember jogging there one time and looking at something else, and I almost fell and cracked my head open. And I was wondering if it's possible to include any money for any trail rehab over there, because I'm super worried a tourist is going to hurt themselves and sue the town. And I don't know if anyone else has taken that trail along the edge of Boulder Reservoir, along the edge of Barker Reservoir, and notice that spot I'm talking about.
Oh, I know, right? I know exactly. I have seen a tourist wipe out a spot too. So
I don't know. I believe that's town-owned land, and I was wondering if we could have some money to rehab that too.
Unfortunately, it's not. It's the city of Boulder land, so you don't have any.
I'm pretty sure. Can you double check the maps? Because my GIS map shows that's town-owned up until a certain point, and then it's city.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go to that, if Miranda is magic enough to go to the slide there that has that has the map on it. That does show which goes out to the city of Boulderland. It has these dashed lines on there.
I thought that was that particular spot, not the whole thing. And then while she's
right there, you see that dashed line kind of at the top is the end of Nederland property. So all the parking lot is City of Boulder.
oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's different on the GIS shape files that I have I got from the town of Nederland.
We do have permission to work a little bit along the eastern line there, the AmeriGas property to add a little park in there, but other than that, they want us not to touch.
That is all city. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that. Okay. Well, too bad. Maybe we can some other time get on City of Boulder to try to
I'm hoping that this will give us a little bit of leverage to say, that they shouldn't be leaving those trails in that condition, because it is pretty abominable.
The other thing I just wanted to make sure in your plan that when you guys plant those native trees and shrubs, I know you're talking about irrigation, make sure you also include some kind of drip irrigation for the native trees and shrub for at least 2 or 3 growing seasons for them to become established. Otherwise they'll die. These things planted from nurseries, you always have to make sure you water them to get them well established. And then
I have a quick question for you. I mean, Nikki was talking about getting trees that are between 5 and 6 feet.
Yeah.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, I mean, did you get a quote from a nursery like Little Valley Wholesale Nursery?
Ooh,
I mean, that's who we buy wholesale.
Okay.
And you can get a quote from them, just buy them wholesale. Depending on what you're buying. The shrubs, I would get in like 5-gallon size. I wouldn't go any smaller. And make sure you include for mulch. Weeds are a terrible problem in Nederland. And as you know, no one wants to use herbicides. So kind of brings my second point is, can we have a line item for noxious weed control in here, specifically, whether it's hiring Teens Inc., having the weed steamer people come up and steam the weeds, if that's going to be the most efficient method. Because I know you're hiring a part-time parks person, but I can guarantee you that person's not going to want to spend all their time pulling weeds. So if it's possible to put in the grant application, if you have room in your budget, I'd recommend doing that, putting in some money.
It's very helpful.
And then I'm happy to talk more about this stuff too later outside the meeting. And then my final thing I don't know is where the wetland mitigation creation is going in Fisherman's Lot. There's that area right along between the road and where the wetland starts that was always going to be, in the past, it was going to be some kind of like native garden beds or some kind of educational something or other. Is that included still? Oh yeah, native species. So,
we've got the budget for trees, but it's not a huge part of this plan as well. We needed to kind of wait and see where the Army Corps, what their discussions are with the Sustainability Advisory Board and the Army Corps for that specific area.
Well, the Army Corps doesn't have anything to do with that spot, that particular area, the upland area. It's more the wetlands is their jurisdiction. That upland area was really always going to be for the town to do something there. Yeah. And so if you had time, budget, et cetera, or desire, you could throw some money in there to do something there. I think Seb was talking about like, native pollinator gardens with signage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway. So those are all my comments, and thanks for all the hard work. And just make sure you got plenty of money for maintenance and all this stuff. You install all this vegetation, but it looks great. I hope we get it.
Thanks, Rhea.
Do we have any more feedback for Jess? Well, great. Jesse, thanks so much for that presentation and for all that work you've been doing. It looks wonderful and really, really well presented.
No, thank you very much. We're looking forward to working closely with the DDA on this as it goes forward.
Great. That's a wonderful asset for the town. We're all excited for it.
So,
Thank you. All right, then I think we'll move on to, we don't have any action items for this meeting, so we'll move on to informational items. And Ron Mitchell is going to present an idea or two about investing some of our funds from the TIF.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. While we're waiting for projects to materialize and get our budget in order, my recommendation take some of our funds and make short-term investments just to keep the money from depreciating, keep it insured, and provide ourselves with some additional income. And what I'm recommending is that we put up to, but no more than, $250,000 into tax certificates issued by Boulder County. I've been working with Hope on this and Steve, and produced quite a few comments, which I hope you've all read. And also I directed people to go to the Boulder County Treasurer's website to the frequently asked questions. And so I'm ready to entertain any questions that you have. Are you hearing me? Hello?
Hi, sorry, Ron, I was
hear you.
talking, but I had myself muted.
Ron, this is Rhea. I mean, I might as well, if you want, I can start, Steve, unless you wanted to go in a different order.
Yeah, I'd like to call on people to avoid too much talking over. But Rhea, let's start with you.
Well, Ron, I appreciate your enthusiasm in trying to make this money work better for us. I'm extremely uncomfortable with putting all our eggs in one basket. It's only part of the money. I'm not a financial person. I don't want to make a decision with public money to go this direction. I don't think it's a bad idea to think about investing the money, but I just would like to see it more diversified, and I think it should be handled by a professional financial person. I know about tax liens. They might work well for you and most people. I just don't think we should be doing it with the public's money.
Ron, did you have any?
Ron, you have to unmute yourself if you're saying anything.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I found the mute button. I appreciate that, Rhea. We could hire a stockbroker, but the fees going in and going out would probably negate almost anything that we would make. If you don't think I'm qualified, I'm sorry to hear that. It's a very simple thing. It's done by counties. There are counties that I wouldn't advise it being done in, but Boulder County is a very stable county, and it's close to all of us, so that's why I'm recommending it. I understand your view, and I don't have any comment on it.
Okay. Let's see. Could we have any feedback? Claudia next.
I think it's a really interesting idea. I feel comfortable that Ron has a lot of experience doing this. I am a little bit uncomfortable using the public's money for this, but I'm definitely not opposed to it. If we had, and I've read up on it, and it's definitely worth thinking about and looking into, and tons of people do it. So I can't say as how I'm opposed to it, and I feel pretty comfortable that Ron knows what he's doing with this.
Thank you, Claudia. Ron, did you want to respond to anything there?
Well, I've had a chance to talk with Claudia personally a lot about it, so I appreciate her saying that. And perhaps if I'd had a chance to talk to Rhea, it might have been a little bit different. Public money should be used wisely, and at where it is right now, I don't think it's being used wisely, depreciating and being uninsured.
Karina, could we hear your thoughts about this?
Hi. So as I stated before in our last meeting, like I'm definitely a proponent of in having our money work for us, but within the parameters and laws that are appropriate. And I don't know much about purchasing tax liens. I mean, some of the stuff I read, it seems really risky. So I guess I would probably err on the side of what Rhea was saying, which is that I would probably want to have a financial advisor take a look at what it is that the DDA is hoping to accomplish with their funds and go from there. I just don't know enough about tax liens, the ins and outs. I mean, just from what I've read, briefly, I wouldn't really be able to make a decision on whether I think that's a good idea or a bad idea, because it's an investment and it can go wrong or it can go right. So that's I don't know if that helps.
No problem. Ron, do you have any feedback for that?
We'll get Karina to give you some more detailed information on this. I could, since this is an informational item, if you'd like to sit down and talk about it, I'd be more than happy to give you a lot of background information. I can understand that there's different areas of investments. This is one where I'm a specialist. I'm not a specialist in bonds. I'm not a specialist in mutual funds. This is one of the areas of my expertise, and that's why I've recommended it. And so I'll be glad to make any further explanations that would help if you would like me to.
Yeah, that would be great, because I clearly I don't know about it. So I would welcome that. So we should definitely set something up offline. That would be great.
Okay, let's do that tomorrow, the next day.
Okay, great. That sounds good.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks. Andrew, could we hear from you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that the money needs to be making more, whatever 0.1% it's making. So for using capital to make money within the parameters of the law, and is going to be way down, and the funds need to be insured. As far as I think the attorney knows all. He can advise town and the DDA and the BOT on how it's done, and levels of risk, certainly right and discussed. I think
I'm not hearing you.
What?
You were blanking out. I didn't hear you, Andrew, but go ahead.
I'm just saying all sorts of different ways that we can use. With it. There's no, but certainly we need to discuss the risk. And the town attorney. What's going on? Let's God.
I should mention that we have approached the DDA attorney on this issue, and he has told us it's all right. That he prefers, of course, to see us trying to get our projects going, but in the interim, he feels that this is an adequate short-term solution to gaining some earnings on our cash assets.
Thanks, Ron, for clarifying, because Andrew, you had stated that the town attorney knew about it, and Ron's correct. It's the DDA attorney.
Yeah,
This
I was wrong. I'm sorry.
No worries. I just wanted to clarify.
That's why I did it too.
Yeah, thanks, Ron.
Yeah, and everybody, I also just wanted to mention that whatever we decide on, or whatever direction we're going with this discussion, the BOT eventually would need to approve our use, for us to do this. Just so you know, it's not only our decision, but if we discuss it and move it forward and would want to do it, the BOT would still need to approve us doing this. Now, next, could we hear from Barbara?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Could we hear from Barbara?
I don't really have enough information or knowledge about this particular idea to have a real opinion about it. I think that we need to be safe with our money, and I'm not sure that this is as safe as it may seem. So I guess I'd be interested in hearing if we did need to have someone else in charge of the situation, as Rhea mentioned earlier. Otherwise, I'm not sure it's a good fit for us. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, Jonathan, do you have anything to comment on for this?
I like the idea of looking around and try to see what are some other ways that we can make these dollars basically multiply, gain some more money than just kind of sitting around in these low interest banks that they have been. Part of the original idea of the DDA was to kind of help leverage these funds and multiply them so that they could then be built back into the community and infrastructure and continue to multiply. So I like this idea and getting around. I don't myself know enough about tax liens and would want a lot more of a in-depth pretty much presentation of what are we looking at here, what are the risks, and what's the exact dollar amount, that was provided a little bit in here. So I would be interested in sitting down with Ron a little bit more, chatting with this. I don't feel like right now, hearing the rest of the DDA, it's kind of at a point where it's yet something that would be taken to the BOT. It seems like this would have to be a few more discussion items with some presentations and DDA meetings, as well as maybe Ron providing some more education material for the rest of the board to familiarize themselves with this type of investment, the pros, the cons, and what the risks are. That said, the DDA lawyer has said we are able to do this. Personally, I feel like this could become a rabbit trail that could distract from all the other projects we have going. So I would kind of agree with the DDA lawyer. Let's focus on our projects and get some more information with this. And I like the idea of diversifying our investment to try to get some more income, but I'm not necessarily comfortable with tax liens right now.
Okay, thank you. Ron, would you like to respond at all?
Who are wanting more information and maybe have the three of us or the four of us get together so we could discuss it. It's a very simple thing, something that, as I said, I'm a specialist in it, so I feel comfortable doing this, and I'd like to get you to the point where you do feel comfortable. And I think that happened with Claudia. I spent a good deal of time talking with her and trying to explain it. I tried to make the presentation as illuminating as possible by going right to the Boulder County Treasurer's frequently asked questions about it. I have looked around at a lot of other investments and the cost of putting money into them, the fact that they're not particularly short term. There's always fees for going in and going out of mutual funds, things like that. Money market accounts don't pay that much more. And so if this isn't going to fly, the tax sale is on the 20th of September.
November.
Excuse me, November, I'm sorry. There's a tutorial on the 9th of November in the Boulder County Commissioners meeting room on the 3rd floor of the county courthouse that you could go to too. So a decision would have to be made all the way down the line prior to the 20th of November. So I'm enthusiastic about it. There are 3 or 4 of you who are not. I think it's just because of lack of knowledge. So if there's a time that we could get together, the 3 of us or the 4 of us, which would be what, Barb Hart, Karina Lucier.
You can't get together.
No, we'd have notice it. Anybody else who wants to come too, notice it as a meeting, so that anybody who wants to come and anybody in the public that's interested would also get the same information. I certainly want to make sure that we comply with the sunshine laws on that. But on the other hand, if all of you want to commit to talk to me individually, I'll do that too. Karina has. Jonathan, do you have time that you'd like to do it?
You know, I guess what I'm trying to see is if it's November 20th, you would have to get this approved through the BOT because these are moving TIF funds. So this would need a BOT approval. Currently, you have an informational item, which means this would need to be an action item on the October meeting so that BOT could approve this the first BOT meeting in November if you were able to do that. So are you intending on bringing this back to the next DDA meeting as an action item, Ron?
Yes, if I could talk to the 4 people who have reservations about it, I definitely would.
Definitely, yeah. I would be happy to arrange some time to sit down with you offline and just kind of chat through my reservations about it. And then it seems like if other folks do that, we should be expecting to see this as an action item, hopefully on the next agenda, correct?
Yes, if there was interest.
This is Karina. Can I ask a question? So
Sure.
This is so the tax lien investment is one way for the DDA to potentially make some money off its money. So I'm curious, like, is anyone else interested in seeing some of the other options that might be available to us rather than looking at just one option and saying yay or nay? I mean, do we want to have a deeper discussion? And then to Jonathan's point, does this lead us down a rabbit hole right now and distract us? I'm just throwing it out there because the way my brain works is I need to have like, hey, here are the 5 things that could work, and here are the pros and cons, and making an educated decision based on that, not just on one singular, this is, let's do it. I mean, we're talking about a lot of money, so I'm just kind of throwing it out there.
Karina, can this is Karen. I'm sorry to interrupt. I know you guys are having this great conversation. I just wanted to share with you a recommendation I had made to Ron, and maybe it's something you all want to think about, which is instead of just kind of looking at the newest thing that pops up or what the most urgent opportunity, instead look at this holistically and discuss an investment policy. And then once you guys vet an investment policy and you all approve it, then you can bring that to the Board of Trustees. And instead of one particular option for your investment, you actually have a policy that's been approved and vetted by both boards, your board and the Board of Trustees. So I just want to say that was a recommendation I made. I want to share it with all of you, just as more information. Thanks so much.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, and I guess maybe that's where I was headed with that, but you said it more eloquently.
I would also be on board with that. And if anybody knows a financial planner or a money person who does this, a money manager does this professionally, maybe they can join our meeting and explain the fees, because if really they're feeding all the money, people wouldn't be using them. But I think there are probably some other vehicles that need to be considered. I just want to make one more quick point. I think public perception is really important here. And if we have one person on the board that's taking $250,000 of the public's money and investing it in one thing, I'm very concerned about the public perception of that. And I'm very worried, because you can look at those facts right there in the Boulder County. You can lose money. If the tax lien is redeemed before you are able to make up the premium bid, you can lose money. Maybe it's very rare. Obviously, Ron is an expert in this, and he knows it really well. I do not, but I'm super uncomfortable putting all our eggs in one basket and having a board member be the person to do it. I just think it's a bad idea, and I think we are going down a rabbit hole. I think broadening the conversation is a good idea.
Excuse me, I know that Dana Edwards is a financial analyst, and I know that she was working closely with the Rotary Club that I think they're closing down, but I just wanted to toss that name out. And I'm not sure if we have 250,000 at this time.
I like the investment policy, and I understand this rabbit hole distraction. So I think, Karen, that was a good, put, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, yeah, Steve, the chair. I'm hearing from this discussion so far, it doesn't sound like we have many people gung-ho about this idea. There's a lot of people who feel a little confused about it. And I think that would be good for Ron to discuss with them offline in order for them to understand the whole situation. But I'm wondering, Ron, what your thoughts are about, an idea about trying to draft a investment policy that we could discuss as a board and come up with some broad parameters that we would feel comfortable with in the future. And what are your thoughts about that? You're muted, Ron.
No.
Okay.
You're off mute, Ron.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Am I being heard?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Rhea, I would very much like to sit down with you and talk about it. I don't know if you, well, a couple of comments. There are other investments, and at today's market and looking at them, the return that other investments would yield to us if we hired someone independent from the board to do it would be no better than what we're getting right now. I've looked at a lot of other things. I've talked with investment advisors, Edward Jones, 2 or 3 of these firms I know people in. And your comment in terms of watching it, yes, if people do lose money sometimes when they do very foolish things, when they don't know what they're doing, and you see this at this is an auction, and you see people go to auctions and sometimes pay double for something they could buy off the shelf in a retail store. But to the people who are educated about it, and I would like an opportunity to talk with you about it. If I don't know how to put this, but I've spent a tremendous amount of time trying to educate everybody as best I could now, and I'm willing to do it more in terms of having an investment policy. You could make it broad, and then someone has to administer it, and I think you'll end up paying more money out than you'll gain. But I'm willing to try it. I just looked at this. I see it as a one solution, but I don't want to spend my time writing up something and going through this again. I want, at this point, I'd like to talk with each person that has qualms, and then if you still do when we're done, I guess we won't do it. And if you don't want or need my expertise on the board, that's okay too. I understand that. So, Ray, I would very much like to talk with you before you go out of town to try and help you have a better understanding. And I think the other three also. And then if you don't want to do it, that's fine with me. This was just an idea to try to help the board to keep our money from depreciating, keep it insured. And if it's too complex or too technical, or you feel it's publicly inappropriate, there's nothing I can do about that. So,
real quick question. What interest rate is the money earning?
it varies. It depends on what you bid and what categories you invest.
No, currently the money that's in the DDA bank account. What is the interest rate?
1%.
Yeah,
You said 1%?
0.01%.
1/10 of 1%.
1/10 of 1%. A CD is 1% now.
Yes. And you can get 1 1/3% if you get a 2-year CD.
Yeah, I mean, just for me, like if it was my personal money, I'd love to talk to you all day about it. But with the public's money, I just feel like it's putting all our eggs in one basket and it's not diversified.
It's putting very little of our money up to. There's no guarantee that we would take. It would be up to 250,000. We might not get, depending on how the auction goes, we might only get 50,000 invested or 100,000. Or if you're uncomfortable with it, we could lower that limit to 100,000 for a first-year starter. But I have a feeling that our funds are going to be exhausted within 2 years because Hope and I have been working on the budget, and we are highly committed. The funds just haven't been expended, and we're not quite sure where we stand in terms of what those commitments are. So this is why we're looking for something short-term that we know will get a reasonable payback. So you could put a lower limit if the 100 or 250,000 feels uncomfortable. Well, would you be comfortable with 100? That's 1/8 of what we have in the bank, or about 22-23% of our current cash assets. Would that make a difference?
Ron, this is Steve.
Yes.
I'm thinking that it would be good to talk to the board members that expressed an interest and over the next few days. And if it seems like there's enough people on the board that feel like it's a great idea, then we could put it on the agenda for next month as an action item. And that would give us time to send it to the BOT in time for the tax lien event. So if that sounds all right, I think that that would be a good way to move this forward. And we would know, after the next several days, if there is enough interest and positivity on the board to want to send this to the BOT. And then we could have it at the next meeting. In the meantime, we could also be looking at some ideas for a investment policy guidelines that could help us in the future with this and other investments.
Have a commitment from Rhea. Do you have time in the next 2 or 3 days? Rhea, can you hear me? Steve, can you?
Yes, I can hear you. And Ron, maybe we know who's interested in talking with you. So perhaps you could do that offline with those people and get back to me when you've had a chance to talk with them.
Yeah, Ron, I just texted you. I'm happy to talk to you about it, but I don't think you're going to change my mind. And I totally value your expertise in all this. I just think I'm just really worried about public perception and any chance of losing money, especially by a person that's on the DDA board. I think I'm just really worried about that. But let's talk more about this at another time so we don't take more of our meeting time.
That sounds good, Rhea. So, Ron, thank you for bringing this up and having a discussion about it. And I'll look forward to hearing how it progresses over the next week or so and see if we want to put it on the agenda for next month. The next item is the chair report, and I don't really have anything set for today. So I'll go to the executive director report.
Yeah, great to hear everybody. It's a great quick meeting. I just wanted to quickly open this up. So I guess the biggest thing for me right now is that according to the bylaws, I work for the pleasure of the board. And I honestly don't really hear from everybody or anybody throughout the month. Usually I hear from you maybe right before the meeting, about an hour or two. So we just have a lot of money and funds and projects that are going on. And I'm so ready to help out in any way. I create a lot of aims for people. I guess about a week after the last meeting, I sent out a AIM template to people. I sent out an agenda heads up, and I just really pray and encourage you to please use me, and please be aware of the deadline. When I have to put Town off and Miranda off, handing her an agenda, it's difficult because I know how hard they're working and I know they're under a timeline and crunch as well. So I hate ruffling feathers. It's just not my thing. But I did feel like I needed to pass that out to you. I
hope
want to welcome Rita as well as Tanner Delafonso. He's been a really great bookkeeper to work with so far. He's in a learning curve, but I'm pretty happy. I created those spreadsheets in the hopes that it'll make things clear for you. And those are spreadsheets that I'm working with both Ron Mitchell as well as Tanner on. So if you ever wanted to take a look into our online accounts, let me know. As our budget meeting are coming up and you're not understanding anything when you're looking at those budget sheets, I really invite you to go into the budget meeting with those numbers in your mind. If you go back and look at our expenditures, in one section, you'll say, well, we only have $237,000 in loan money out. Well, that's because we haven't asked for the $139,000 yet for the TIP project. The $70,000 that we've requested, or Public Works, we've granted them last week, as well as the $200,000 that we need for the parking project, if that goes through, as well as the $60,000 that we need for the wayfinding project, which it seems like a lot of boards are truly engaged in, and that's a great project. So please look at that. I'm totally available. I'm in quarantine because I just returned home from the East Coast, and I'm here till the 18th in my cabin. Let me see. I created the resolution for the tip matching fund. Yes. Sorry, yeah. I'm sorry, Andrew, I can't hear you.
I appreciate everything you do. Can you hear me?
Thank you. I can't. I heard this for the most important thing I've ever. Thank you.
Okay. About 6 hours. So that you have that 5 hour.
Oh, that's okay. Big Springs wasn't even on the. You guys weren't even on the agenda.
Hello. Thank you.
Yeah, you rock. Thanks, Andrew. And you do communicate with me. I do appreciate that. So I put the bylaws in there, and I also put Golden has a really nice overview of the statute. So again, if you ever wonder anything, the information is there for you. So I put together the tip resolution that I guess I'll present, or one of us will present at the September 15th meeting. I'll be writing the aim this evening and passing it along to Chris. He usually is up early in the morning and uses mail. I hope you had a chance to take a look at the resolution. And let me know if you had any questions. I think Steve had a question earlier. If you want to bring that up, just let me know. Otherwise, I'm passing this along to him or to them.
Okay. Was there anything else in your report?
No, I didn't know if you wanted to go spend a minute on the section number 2 about the town account or the NDDA accountant shall repay the loan.
Yeah, that was just my input, that it seemed like it would be better to say the NDDA shall repay this loan, not to name a particular person who would pay it. But it was sort of a minor detail, but it just seemed like a better idea to say our entity will repay this loan.
Okay. I'll just make those changes, Miranda, if that's okay, and I'll resend it to you.
Yep, that works for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, thanks, Hope. I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll be talking more with the board about just getting all of our work in sooner before the meetings. It'd be better for everybody.
Hey, this is Karina. Can I just wanted to address Hope's concern about folks not getting back to her, and I want to personally apologize because I know I'm one of them, and I won't that won't happen again. I had a bit of a weird situation happen, and I'm not making excuses, so I apologize, and I will make sure that I'm responsive to your emails and all the information.
Thanks, Karina.
This is what I'm here to do. Thank you for that reminder.
Thanks.
Sure. All right. Next up, we have the treasurer's report. And Ron, I don't know if you had anything to present for the treasurer's report. And you're muted right now.
I think it's given a really good synopsis of how we're making progress with our financial statements. And I have nothing to add to what she said.
Okay, thank you. And next we have the town staff report.
Yeah, so this is Karen. The report is in your packet, and I won't, talk too much about it. But mainly we just launched our 2021 budget process. We had our first meeting Tuesday night last night with the Board of Trustees, our first work session. I've got the schedule in the report for you, so you all can stay up to date on it. And as I said, we would like to have the DDA budget by our October 6th Board of Trustees meeting, so we can present it to them for their approval. It's not the official adoption of it, but they approve us using that draft of the budget to post publicly October 15th, which gives the public 2 weeks to give us feedback before we have our public hearing, which is November 10th. And I do want to just mention that normally we have our meetings, the first Tuesday of the month, but because November is an election month, some of you might have heard, or and the election is happening on the first Tuesday, we'll actually be meeting that second Tuesday for the budget hearing. We also continue to work on the Envision 2030 process. Miranda's really taken that on, and she's upped her efforts in reaching out to the public. And we're having some community events, which are also listed in the report. The board approved for the town staff to come up with a long-term rental registration process where we are not charging owners of long-term rental properties to register it. We're only doing that so that we can gather this information and we have someone to contact in an emergency situation, which actually we've had some of that come up lately where it's been very hard to find the owners of the property when it was critically important. We also have some public work update with some photos, including our first paving project on Conger, which some of you might have noticed, which we're really proud of and happy to be able to be making those improvements in town. The community center did open in August, and now in September they've expanded their hours. It's all very safe. They have some really good safety measures in place to make sure that people are enjoying the fitness spaces and whatnot in a healthy way. And then we do have a new administrative assistant who just started with us August 31st, Amanda Sporlensky. And she is going to be, she'll be the person that you meet when you come into the town hall. She'll be working that front desk area. We still have reduced hours in town hall, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 10 a.m. to 2. But Tuesdays and Thursdays, we will still meet by appointments. So I don't know, Miranda, if you have anything else you want to add to that?
No, you captured it all. Thank you.
Okay, great. And of course, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Anything to us, and I was wondering if the parking committee, I'll just run down some of the committees and see if anybody has something. Does the parking committee have any updates?
The proposal from JVA about 5 hours ago. So we need to put that together and bring it up to the next.
Okay. Okay, sounds reasonable. For Claudia and me on the wayfinding committee, we spoke a little bit, but we didn't have a chance to get together and come up with our recommendation. But we have plans to make a recommendation at next month's meeting for the wayfinding group that we'd like to move forward with. But at this time, we don't have anything in particular. How about for public art? Is there any update on that?
Yes, I have. This is Ray. I have an update. I'm excited to announce that Karina has agreed to join the public art subcommittee with me. As you know, Mark left and he was on that with me. This project is kind of put on hold since COVID, but have recently reached out to Mandy Vink, and we're going to kind of restart the project. Probably we're going to delay all of the deliverables for another year. We will just want to make sure we have enough time for public outreach. And of course, that's been a little bit challenging with COVID, but it still can be done. So we're hoping to meet with Mandy Mandy Vink here within the next week or so. We'll see when everybody can meet via Zoom, and then hopefully we'll have a more in-depth update for you guys next month. But no, it's still on the table, and we're planning on doing it. And I just want to make sure that that money that for Mandy's been allocated, and that whatever that it's carried over to next year's budget. I don't think that's a problem. So yeah, we're excited about it.
Great. Well, thanks for that update. I've forgotten what the other committee is that we've got besides parking, wayfinding, public art.
Just the electrical box. I know that the shed doesn't have a roof on it, and I know that perception is what I'm thinking about too. Just wanted to know when that was going to wrap up, and maybe I think the DDA allotted $15,000, so we do have funds if we need to hire somebody to come in and just wrap that up. Any thoughts?
Electrical box has potential options for resalvage metal roof if we want to pay somebody to come finish it up. Just so we are clear, it is dried in, so while it might not have metal or shingles on it, it is weather tight. So if
John, can we pay you to do it?
no, you can't. That's why I was
No, we
volunteering
can't.
in the
Yeah.
first place.
Damn it. All right.
I can't receive anything for doing it. I've just put like 6 weekends of this summer into it with Stringfellow and Jim Reese and a bunch of members of the Presbyterian Church. So I have soffit fascia material at my house for it. Chris has some metal up in the county shop that could be used for the roof. Basically, we can either choose to put recycled metal roof on there, which would pretty much be the cheapest way of going about it. Or if the rest of the board determines, you guys can go ahead and hire somebody to come in and shingle a 6 by 10 foot of roof, which good luck finding a roofer to do that. They might just laugh at you.
Does it look attractive on the outside? I know that we had been talking about doing some of the creative art or making it kind of nice, so it's just not like a shack out there. And after that awesome
It's pretty
ProSat
much a
discussion,
tough shed right now, which was what was discussed, was leaving it pretty much as basic as could be, and then any of the finished stuff you guys want to come and do on the outside, you can come in and do. As of right now, it's 6 by 8 by pretty much 10-foot lean-to shed. Power is still not fully hooked up from my talk with Chris earlier today, because XL is still working with the electrician to actually fully get the power in there. While there's a lot of electric lines run and cameras installed, nothing actually happened. So we're probably looking at around the 27th of this month would be my earliest available time to get down there, borrowing a town generator to finish installing the fascia and soffit material. Andrew, if you want to come join me, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I could probably arrange to have
whatever.
Jimmy come down, a few other guys, and we could probably get this wrapped up by end of month. If the concern is just getting the roof on it for public perception, then I would say the DDA should probably look to hire somebody. Currently, as a building, it's not letting water in, and it will hold up through the end of the month.
Do we have their metal?
Yep.
Oh,
we have
great.
it all.
My knee pads and my heart.
All right. Bring your screw gun.
All right, thanks, Jonathan, for that update on the box. That sounds great to get it fixed up by the end of the month. Let's see, I think that is everything for this meeting. Do we have any other business before we close?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. This is Karina. So I had a question. I wasn't certain. So the last meeting, we went well over our budgeted 2 hours, and so I kind of wanted to inquire about what the board's rules or parameters are, how you guys handle when you are going to go over, because I do schedule my time pretty tightly, and I'm sure just in respect of everybody's time, if there's some kind of protocol that if we are going to go over, there's an acknowledgement of it and how far over we're going to go. I don't mean to be a stickler, but I kind of am. So I just wanted to know what I am to expect with these meetings in terms of time frame.
Yeah, I can answer part of that. Since I've been on the board for about 2 years now, we've only gone past 8, more than 5 minutes past 8, 2 times that I can remember. One, I think, was the last meeting, and this one now is 12 minutes over. So it's not a very common thing, but I don't know what the protocol is if we are going to go past 8 o'clock, and I'm happy to learn about that before the next meeting and address it during the meetings if it looks like we are going to go over. But I want to say that our record has been pretty good, aside from maybe 4 or 5 minutes past 8. I think it's only been twice that we've been later than that.
In exciting history, the DDA board used to actually meet twice a month. Ta-da, if you want to do that. Just...
No, thanks. And I think, was that Ron that was starting to say something as well at the same time as Karina?
Yes, it was. I would like, this is other business. I have, in making this presentation to you about the tax liens, I've also been exploring buying a surety bond on myself so that should the DDA ever in the remotest possibility lose money, I would have a bond that would cover me if it was my fault. I see some concerns about that. So the bonding company wants a resolution to ratify the motion in the minutes of whatever date it was to have it signed and notarized by the chair. And so I would like to make a motion that we pass a resolution, or I'd like to have a resolution to ratify my appointment in the minutes and have Chairman Steve Kuro sign it and present it to the bonding company because that's what they want to issue the bond. And I probably will take out the bond in the amount of $1 million at my expense. So could we have a motion to ratify the minutes appointing me as the treasurer?
I don't think you can really do a motion like that right now, Ron. You're in other business. So my suggestion is you talk offline with the chairman. And if you two both want to add it on to a future agenda, you could. I'm wondering why it's not enough that you have minutes that have been approved for when you were appointed as the treasurer. Doesn't that work?
They want a notarized signature from the chair.
So the chair is signing those anyways. So all you'd have to do is you could talk to him about getting a notary signature.
And I'm a notary, so it's Miranda, so I can notarize the document.
So you've already got approved minutes where you were appointed as the treasurer. So you don't need to do anything beyond that. Just getting his signature notarized.
I'd be happy to do that, Ron, if that would suffice.
And we will be having that meeting on the 22nd if we needed to vote on anything.
Right.
What I propose, and that I want to insure myself in the event that which I don't think is remotely possible, and that's why I'm buying the bond. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ron. We'll work on that afterward. And let's see, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Moved.
Second.
Good night, everyone.
Hi.
Good night.
Adjourned. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.